The standoff over Taiwan is one of the most consequential geopolitical flashpoints of the 21st century, involving not just the island itself, but the interests, fears, and strategies of the United States, the People's Republic of China, and many other nations across the Pacific and beyond. This question, whether China might attempt to take Taiwan by force, and what the United States and its allies would do in response, isn't hypothetical anymore. It's one of the defining strategic dilemmas of 2026 and a central axis around which global security, economics, and alliance politics now revolve. Before we go deeper, take a moment to subscribe to World Uncovered, where we explain the hidden forces shaping our world's future with clarity, context, and calm analysis. The roots of the Taiwanese issue stretch back more than 70 years, to the end of the Chinese Civil War, when the defeated nationalist government retreated from the mainland and established itself in Taiwan. Since then, Taiwan has functioned as a separate political entity with its own democratic system and economic power, while the Chinese government has asserted that the island is an inalienable part of its territory. This complex historical background, combined with shifting global power balances, has turned Taiwan into both a symbol and a strategic pivot in US-China relations. What once were distant tensions have now become daily diplomatic, military, and economic jockeying that keeps capitals around the world watching closely. The current burst of activity, from military drills to espionage incidents and legislative efforts, reflects how serious this issue has become, with profound implications for global stability. Over the past months, the Chinese People's Liberation Army has intensified its military pressure on and around Taiwan, conducting some of its most extensive demonstrations of force yet. In late December 2025, the PLA's Eastern Theater Command conducted large-scale military exercises that simulated blockades and live-fire operations around the island, launching rockets into waters north and south of Taiwan and displaying new naval and air assets in a show of strength. These drills were widely covered as a deliberate signal that Beijing's strategic focus on Taiwan remains high and that it is positioning its forces and hardware for potential future contingencies. Such developments have intensified concerns from Washington and other U.S. allies. A spate of diplomatic and military statements from the U.S. State Department has made it clear that Beijing's activities increase tensions unnecessarily, reiterating long-standing U.S. support for the status quo in the Taiwan Strait and calling for restraint. Meanwhile, U.S. arms sales to Taiwan and high-profile defense cooperation have drawn condemnation from Beijing as interference in China's internal affairs and a violation of long-held agreements governing U.S.-China relations. The strategic calculus is not one-dimensional. According to leading think tanks and defense analysts, a conflict over Taiwan would not be contained within the narrow waters of the strait, but would likely erupt into a much broader regional or even global crisis involving multiple powers and extended supply chains. A report from the German Marshall Fund estimated that a conflict, even a limited one, could impose enormous costs on China, including massive economic disruption and significant military losses. In scenarios where a minor conflict escalates into a prolonged blockade or larger war, the social and economic costs could prove catastrophic. This potential for escalation has led strategic thinkers to reassess assumptions about how a Taiwan crisis might unfold. The Council on Foreign Relations, one of the world's premier policy research institutions, has highlighted that if conflict breaks out, it could draw in additional powers, expand geographically, and escalate vertically, creating a complex and dangerous environment that would challenge traditional strategies and alliances. At the same time, Taiwan itself is navigating its own internal political debates about defense preparedness. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te has proposed a sweeping defense budget aimed at boosting the island's military capabilities, seeking advanced missile defenses, precision weapons, and unmanned systems. But domestic politics have become a roadblock, with opposition parties repeatedly blocking portions of the proposed budget, raising concerns that delays in bolstering defenses could be perceived by Beijing as weakness or indecisiveness. The human element within Taiwan is also visible in other ways. Recent reports of attempted espionage and security breaches illustrate how deep the competition has become beyond conventional military movements. Taiwanese authorities detained a journalist for allegedly bribing military officers to provide sensitive information to actors aligned with mainland Chinese interests, underscoring the multi-layered nature of tension in the region, from high-level military posturing to covert efforts to gather intelligence and undercut the island's institutions. China's strategic messaging has similarly become more assertive. In recent days, a Chinese ambassador warned that neighboring countries like Australia must prepare for a reunified Taiwan under Beijing's terms, suggesting economic and diplomatic consequences for those who support Taiwan's independence. A message that signals China's willingness to turn the Taiwan question into a broader test of international alignments. Underlying these overt actions and statements are deep strategic calculations about Taiwan's significance to China's broader security and power posture. Analysts note that Taiwan's geographic position, particularly its control over key sea and air routes in the Western Pacific, makes it a core interest for Beijing. Control of the island would not only have symbolic importance for China's national identity and Communist Party legitimacy, but also tangible implications for the mobility of China's air and naval forces beyond the so-called First Island chain. For the United States, the stakes are no less significant. Washington's policy has long been characterized by a careful but deliberate balance: oppose unilateral changes to the status quo while stopping short of committing to an automatic military response unless certain thresholds are crossed. This approach seeks to deter aggression without unnecessarily provoking escalation. But this balance is under stress as Chinese military capabilities grow and Taiwan's calls for more robust defense measures become louder. Economically, a conflict over Taiwan would have reverberations that extend far beyond military theaters. Taiwan is a critical node in global semiconductor supply chains, producing a large share of the world's most advanced microchips, components essential for everything from smartphones and cars to defense systems and artificial intelligence applications. Any disruption to this flow would not only imperil global technology industries, but could trigger cascading effects in financial markets, manufacturing bases, and consumer markets worldwide. Given these many pressures, military drills, legislative debates, economic ties, alliance politics, intelligence concerns, and strategic signaling, it's no surprise that the Taiwan issue is emerging as a focal point of US-China strategic competition in 2026. Senior analysts predict that even as Washington and Beijing continue dialogue, the Taiwan question will remain a central pressure point in bilateral relations, one that cannot be easily compartmentalized or postponed as global priorities shift. In this environment, the world is preparing, quietly, deliberately, and in ways not always visible on the surface. Diplomats are engaging, military planners are reassessing, and allied states are recalibrating their strategies. But the underlying question remains: how can peace be maintained when the strategic stakes are so high and the incentives for assertive action so strong? The answer may determine not just the future of Taiwan, but the shape of global power and stability for decades to come. If you want calm, clear explanations of the forces shaping our world, from geopolitics to global power dynamics, subscribe to World Uncovered, because the biggest shifts often happen quietly long before they reach the headlines.